Good evening again, WrestleTalk fans. Our final installment for a couple of days, but one topic we couldn't call tonight without touching on is the famous Montreal Screwjob and wrestler Bret Hart as a whole. We're going to discuss how, now that the storyline's kind of been written to an end, and you find out bygones, or at least so the wrestling fan is told, that everybody kissed and made up, and everybody's happy. But I still believe there are fans out there that I don't even want to go on to insult you guys or misconceptions that it was still a screw job. It might have been, but it's wrestling's past, and a wrestler like Bret Hart, the whole argument you'll hear from me in this portion is, my thing is it's a thing of wrestling's past, and it's been played out, so let it stay in the past. Montreal shouldn't be chanting, "You screwed Bret," at everybody that screwed Bret 10 years ago. Bret's apologized. But to highlight the Bret Hart career, James Kincade is going to give you a quick rundown of the wrestler Bret Hart as he knows him.
Well, I mean, multi-time world champion, tag team champion, intercontinental champion. I'm going to say European, but I'm not too sure. My heart's a little fuzzy. Now, as far as that Montreal screwjob goes, it's pretty much well documented. It's been solidified that it was in fact legit. It was a screwjob. Couple different, I'm sure many of you who
So all the rumors in Wrestling with Shadows, you're saying that the fans should know that this was a dirty move on who? Vince's part?
Vince's part and all those involved. Now, there's a couple of different stories. I don't know necessarily the one, but I do know supposedly the ending was something akin everybody has a story of either it was legit or it was storyline. Truth be told, supposedly that the ending of the match was Shawn was just locked on the sharpshooter, Bret was just to reverse it, he retains the title. The bell was rung when Bret was locked in a sharpshooter, signifying he never should have lost. Now, the thing is, supposedly, how it went
So
down
this was damn near the end of the match when this all went down.
Correct. Now, supposedly, the backstage bit was
Alright, then if you're Bret Hart, well, is that where the screw job comes in? Because people don't think he tapped? I was going to say, if you...
He didn't tap. He did not tap at all. You can even see the footage. You clearly see he did not tap. They just rang the bell.
Oh.
Okay. Now, as far as the backstage, supposedly Vince was worried, or Vince knew that Bret was leaving for WCW because at the time WCW was kicking her ass and WWE couldn't pay him the money that he was owed. So they figured, okay, we're gonna have to let you go over there. Whatever, they're gonna afford to pay you, supposedly. Which, well, WCW is notorious for their, we have all this money. Oh, no, you don't actually.
Yeah,
Anyway,
what was that all about? They were, WWE was running out of money because of the Monday Night War, but WCW really didn't have the money they were promising, more or less?
Yeah, basically they thought they were rich bitches, and they really weren't. They were, again, like TNA, they were buying bigger names than they could afford to pay. how to turn this around. We'll just get more star power because these stars will help us. No, if anything, these stars could very well bankrupt you.
Just on their payroll alone.
Yeah, but now what was supposed to go down, from what I gathered, was that Vince wanted Bret to drop the title at the to go a step further back. At the time, both Bret and Shawn had a true, unadulterated hatred for each other. There were some things said between the two, legitimately, mind you, and that Bret refused the job here in the States. Shawn refused the job in Canada. So that made Vince a little skittish. Now, probably it was because of Alonzo Blaze jumping at those WWE was selling his trash. Partly it could be because of Ric Flair jumping ship with his title to come to WWF. But he wanted to know if Bret was going to drop it before he left. Bret said, I'll drop it on Monday. Fine. Everything's kosher. The screwjob happened, and, well, history is set in stone. You all know what happened there. Bret lost the title, and he spit at Vince. Now, at one point, I believe there was even more bad blood between Vince and Bret when Bret wanted it was probably covered in the Western with Shadows. I believe they said that he wanted this library. Vince said sure, but then when he went to give him the library, they were like, yeah, no, not going to happen. Yeah, it was pretty stupid. Now this whole
so this was all done. This was all done at a pay-per-view, and it's my understanding he wanted to drop it the following night, right?
Correct. He had no problem jumping it in the States the following night on Raw.
But he wanted to win, right?
Right. He wanted to win at the pay-per-view in his home country, and well,
which any wrestler would ask for.
Oh, and I might have been wrong. I might have gotten that backwards. I believe it was Bret didn't want a job in Canada, and Shawn didn't want a job in the States. That's what it was. They had no problem jobbing in each other's country, just hometown says no. Something like that. Now, as far as when he came back, first of all, I will say this. Rumor had it that they wanted The Rock at that show, although I'm kind of glad it went with Bret because it was, alright, yeah, you have The Rock, and great, you know, it's The Rock, you know, I have no problem with that. But seeing Bret and Hart come out after 13 years of being gone, that was something truly special. Now, as far as him making amends, from what I gathered and from what people have told me, the hog practice was legit. They really did make amends. Now, obviously, Vince probably made amends backstage, and so this way they could do the storyline and work that out. But I'm sure at some point they did make amends.
Oh, so everything. Well, yeah, everything now. Bret has been in the driver's seat, but what we're touching on here is it's done, it's over with, and that we have to establish. But now my question is, with the last 5.5 minutes of the show, what do they do with Bret now? When he came back, they gave him the UC title, yeah, and then they made him the manager, which you kind of seen coming up. He was going to make a tournament out of the title match, but it was kind of like a throw in the face because I don't know, as a wrestling fan, I enjoyed seeing the Hitman win the U.S. title, come back after 13 years, and win the current U.S. title. And then just for, I mean, I understand he's too old to bump, but if you're going to go that far, see if he can do a couple matches. I mean, that's what I
Yeah, but
always disputed about these fluke championship wins. They throw him the next night, but then again, you have another instance of your title really not meaning anything.
well, as far as Brett went, yeah, well, I mean, let's be honest. They probably see him the title as like saying, you know, a nice welcome back present.
No, but I
But
mean, you don't think that, considering how close they both were between Brett's comeback and that event where that Raw where they figured out they were going to make him the GM, like, I think somebody knew what direction they were going to take it if he said yes. So once he said yes, I can't imagine McMahon not having a plan on what way to go. So he had to have, what I'm saying is he had to have Brett in line for the GM job. So how do you throw somebody the belt that you know you're just going to have vacated in a tournament the next night? I don't know. With the championships, I think it's touchy ground, but that's not the point. But what happens to Brett now? I mean, my thing was they gave him the U.S. title and didn't let him run with it. But what do they do after that? He's been through the GM spot. What now?
that's a good question. Like I said, I want to watch, but I haven't been able to watch. In a
All
while.
right. Based on what you gathered from the comeback to what you know now, what do you do with Brett?
That's a good question. I mean, you could see have him managed, but
All right,
honestly,
I'll give you a better scenario. You're the promoter. What do you do with Brett?
Well, unfortunately, I don't really. This is probably why they dropped the dad and dropped the belt so fast. Unfortunately, as much as I understand, he can't wrestle anymore. The only thing I can think of is that he's going to have to manage more often. Granted, the only downside is being a manager usually requires a lot of stick time, and as we established, he was a hell of a talent in the ring, but not much of a talker. But honestly, that's the only thing I can think of because, I mean, have you actually seen those matches? I mean, they were, granted, they were good for what they were. It was
So what are
great
you
to
saying?
see.
He's more or less manager material or writer, right?
Yeah, manager material or some kind of
That's,
backstage, personnel.
do you,
He could be a GM or what have you.
no,
Obviously, they're
I
not
don't
going to
know,
be able to.
man. What do you think of the idea, Bret Hart, a writer, if they ever opened up the doors like that?
I mean, that would be cool.
I mean,
Honestly.
I mean, the guy wrote one of the hottest periods in wrestling. He was part of it, so I'd like to think he has some pretty good ideas.
Oh, yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing what he could write, but definitely not him in the ring, because, now, like I said, I didn't expect, when he got in the ring at WrestleMania, I did not really expect much. I mean, I was kind of hoping for a little bit more.
But you get what you can get. But as we conclude this episode, as we're 30 seconds till we're out of time, I'm your host, Joshua Zimmerman. For this episode of WrestleTalk and all the other installments, visit youtube.com/CWE Company, as well as our Facebook page and Twitter page, all /CWE Company. And again, I can be contacted at cwecompany@gmail.com or through my profile on YouTube. We thank you again for listening, and we hope, as always, we've given you the insider information and opinions to think about. Come back and check back often for updated videos, audio, and much, much more.